Good morning. Welcome to my next episode of Tea Time with Tina. I am actually sitting on my couch today instead of in that room that you see back there, which is where I usually am. And I have a very good reason for that. Well, one, because my computer needed to be plugged in, and I don't have a great access to plug in there. So we're in here. Also, I have not cleaned that room yet. Okay, so as you know, Evan bought a house, right? So this past week has been packing and getting his stuff organized, and he's been taking small loads over and shopping. We had the closing on Wednesday, and then we went shopping the rest of the day. And yesterday we got him all moved into his new house. So last night was his first night in his new house all by himself. I'm anticipating seeing how that went. My house has been a hot mess for quite some time now. So I don't think I vacuumed since he got an accepted offer on the house because in my mind I'm thinking the place is just going to get destroyed anyway, so why bother cleaning, right? So, end result, after he left and I came home, I'm sitting in a complete disaster zone. Okay. So, usually when I get up in the mornings on Sunday, I usually get up super early, like 4:35. It was 5 today and I had to drag myself out of bed. But usually I'm up super early and I get a bunch of work done. And I have a bunch of work to do. I need to work on my ARC, need to work on my website. I've got some estate planning signings this week. So I've got some estate plans I need to draft. I've got two hearings this week, but I'm sitting on my couch doing my Bible study thinking, I can't concentrate on anything until I get this house cleaned up because I'm a little OCD, never been diagnosed. Um, Personally, I think it's a superpower. I always joke and say OCD is my superpower because, it's really just being organized and wanting a clean environment. And you know what? That's healthy. It's not healthy to be sitting in a dump. And my living room wasn't like have stuff all over it. It just hadn't been vacuumed or dusted or my blanket on my couch straightened out in some time. So, so I'm like, Lord, so I did my Bible study and I'm like, God, what should I work on this morning? What should I work on? What should I work on? And I really just felt like cleaning was what I was supposed to focus on. Like the other stuff will get done. No, none of my clients are gonna have some sort of negative impact if I don't work on their stuff today. I can work on it tomorrow, right? So I thought, well, let's clean the house. So I got my bedroom and my kitchen and my living room and my bathroom done. And it's so nice. It's so nice and peaceful to sit in my nice, clean living room. I have not gotten to my office back there yet. That's why I'm not sitting in there. So OCD is like, I'm not really OCD. I'm just hyper organized, right? Again, never been diagnosed with it. Um, I don't like take 15 showers a day and wash my hands and germophobia. I'm none of those things. I just like to have a peaceful environment that's not cluttered, that's clean. Um, so so that's what I did this morning. I cleaned my house minus the office. Okay, so now I want to talk about empty nesting. Oh my gosh. So I have three boys, as you know, and pretty much when my youngest was in preschool is when their dad and I got divorced. So, the majority of their lives, I was single mom, right? So I've been a single mom of 3 boys, and that was not easy. It was not easy at all. Um, so I hope someday my boys appreciate what their mama did for them. Um, Kind of went through that a lot with yet with Evan this week. It's like he did start coming around and thanking me, and but this week, and I know he was stressed out, and I know his dad was stressing him out even more, but he was grumpy at me and taking it out on me. Meanwhile, while I'm taking off work and taking him to his closing and taking him shopping and helping him get stuff. Anyway, I know he appreciates me. He was much, 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 much better yesterday. I think just the relief of getting everything moved, and he did have a friend help him. Matt helped him. Um, that was such a huge blessing. And so we got him all moved in. And I think once all his stuff was there and he could be in his house, that pressure just kind of lifted, right? So okay, so Justin was the first to move out. So when he turned 18 and graduated, he went right off to college that fall following graduation. Um, but I still had 2 at home, right? So I wasn't feeling the empty nest pangs. And then my youngest son, I think it was a couple years after graduation, he didn't go to college, but he was working with a guy that lived next door to his dad. So he decided to move out and go live with his dad so that he could basically just roll out of bed, walk next door, and catch a ride to work instead of having to drive from Dillsboro to Aurora to catch that ride. So that made total sense. And again, he was already graduated from high school. So, he was out on his own. So that left Evan, my oldest. Um, and Evan has moved out 3 times. 3 times. And the first one, he went and rented his own apartment, and then he lived with his then girlfriend for a while, and then he moved in with a friend from work. But all 3 times he came back. Okay, so it never really felt permanent, right? So, but this time with him actually buying his own house, it's so much more permanent, right? Because honestly, I set up again, I'm an estate planning attorney, you know that, right? So I set up my own estate plan, giving Evan a life estate in this house, thinking not only do I need to think about my own future and having a roof over my head once retirement age comes about, right? I don't believe that retirement is a biblical concept. So maybe I'll go into that more on another thing, but I just don't see a retirement plan in the Bible. But anyway, but when I get to be older, you know, I I want to have a house that's paid for, right? And I want, it's always been my goal when I think about my own estate planning to think about that for Evan too. Um, so I wanted to make sure that he had a paid for house, roof over his head, um, as he gets older. Okay, but I really don't have to worry about that anymore. Okay, but I do want to talk about this empty nest thing. So this is all so much more permanent for me this time, right? Um, and I was super busy yesterday because first I want to give a big, huge, 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 huge shout out to Ariel Sizemore and Kim Johnson. So Ariel gave Evan a housewarming gift of a deep clean for his house. And Kim Johnson is the one that did that deep cleaning, and she did an amazing job. Oh my gosh. She even washed the walls. She washed the walls, scrubbed the floors, and inside the kitchen cabinets and the bathroom, which all of it, the house was rented. So all of it was, oh my gosh, I'm not sure that the previous occupant ever cleaned. It was that bad. Okay. So, but it is nice and sparkling clean. And that was such a huge blessing to me that because I would have been the one to have to do that. um, and then his dad came over and did a whole bunch of bug bombs and smoke bombs underneath in the crawl space to make sure there was no critters under there and getting screens over there because there were some empty things. So, um, and then he did a lot of caulking and stuff. So, and that great foam stuff to seal up all the holes because we found quite a few holes that went right down to the crawl space. So any little critters could just come right up into the house. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. We expected to miss some things because a tenant was there with all the stuff, but they had a whole lot of stuff covered up. But Evan's dad did a great job getting all that sealed up. So hopefully he won't have any critter issues in his house. But then yesterday I went over and because his dad was doing all that stuff, right? So the floors needed to be swept again. So we got all the sweeping done. I got Evan's bed made and his bedroom set up with all its clothes and everything. Um, and then I got a lot of stuff done in the kitchen. I got the space ready for dining room table and chairs, which he and his dad went and got. Um, so yeah, yesterday was a big day. I am so sore. I am so sore. But it's okay. It's good. He's got a lovely, lovely little house now, and I just couldn't be more thrilled for him and proud of him. He did such a good job. So, but when I and and so I was too busy to really let the empty nest thing soak in, right? So I left him at his house and I headed home and I kind of felt like excited. Oh, I get the house all to myself, right? And then I pulled around the corner and saw his empty parking space. And I was like, oh, I have an empty parking space. I don't have my Evan here anymore. So I've been over the past couple months, especially after he like had the accepted offer for the house, started feeling the empty nest pangs, which I have never felt before. Um, because like I said, Evan moving out those 3 times, especially after he came back the first time, um, never really felt permanent to me. This one feels permanent, and this one now I have an empty house. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. My little OCD and being an empty nester. So, but okay, so let's talk about the next chapter because I have an empty house that used to be for 4 people, and now it's only for me. So, I have kind of a Cape Cod house. So, I've got 2 bedrooms upstairs. That's all that's upstairs. 2 bedrooms upstairs. So, Evan had let's see. Justin and Owen shared the bigger room when they were home, and Evan had the smaller room. But then when Justin and Owen moved out, then Evan moved over to the bigger room. And then really the smaller room has just really been storage these past years since I was down to one person upstairs. When Evan moved out, uh, probably just the second time when he moved out. Yeah, because I wasn't an attorney yet when he moved out the first time. But when he moved, actually, I don't think I was the second time either. So it hasn't been since the third time he moved out that I decided I was going to redo the upstairs and have it be office space. Um, so now it is more permanent, right? So I like have free reign to totally redecorate the upstairs. Um, one thing I've wanted to do in my house since the kids were little, well, since I moved in really, is replace all the carpet because it is horrible. It's horrible. Especially, well, upstairs, the carpet's navy blue. And so there's that. Not really a brand color. It was great for the boys. But downstairs, there's stains on it, even though I've scrubbed it because I had three boys, right? Who knows? You probably have a stain or two on your carpet. And then it needs to be stretched, right? Because it's got waves in it. It's bad. It's bad. So I've got my living room, my bedroom, and my office all have horrible waves in the carpet. So I really need to get it replaced. And I'm pretty sure I have hardwood floors under the carpets. So my next big project is to redo flooring, but then upstairs, the smaller room is going to be a home office. And my plan is to paint the walls differently so I would have different backgrounds for my Zoom meetings and for my um, tea time with Tina. I can go up there and just turn whichever way I'm feeling in the mood for. And then the bigger bedroom, I want to make into like a team meeting space because I've got a rattan couch and two chairs that I got new cushions for. Um, so I'm going to set that up in the bigger room and have a team meeting space. So lots of projects to do, to work on. None of it's going to happen all at once, right? It's going to take time, but I have time and I have all the time in the world and I can just do what I want. My Evan always says when ever I say, "What are you doing?" He's like, or "Don't do that," or "Would you do this?" And he's like, "I'll do what I want." So guess what? I'll do what I want with my house now. So, and I think having those projects and will help me get over the empty nest thing, but it does feel so much more permanent and real this time. So, if you are empty nesting. It's hard, and I've never really been one to, I mean, when I was a stay-at-home mom, I focused on my kids and that's what I did. But then when we divorced and I had to go get a job and support my children, it came um, more about that. I wasn't home. The kids weren't my 100% focus anymore. And I think that's really important. God wants us to be when we're moms, that is like the best job in the world, right? It's just the best job in the world. Um, but and it is part of our purpose, right? It is part of our purpose. But when we make our kids our sole purpose in life and that is like our main focus and we just obsess over it, what do? We make our kids idols, right? That's not a good thing. That is not God's will, is to make our kids idols and our sole purpose in life. Because who knows that your kids grow up and they leave. So if you've made your kids your whole focus for your life, I can imagine that the empty nest thing would seem so much more oppressive. But God has so much more for you. So much more. That is not your only purpose in life. So I want to encourage you today that if you are going through the transition from having kids at home to not having any kids at home, really seek the Lord on what He has for your next chapter, and if you have kids at home, start seeking the Lord. Okay, God, what's my next chapter going to look like? Because you can be preparing for your next chapter, right? Whether it's take a night class or two, or, you know, purchase some online courses, whether it's getting healing or just learning knowledge, but really start seeking the Lord for what your next chapter is going to look like and what his will for you is after. Because if it truly was our only purpose in life to raise children, then once they're gone, God would just whisk us away to heaven like he did Elijah, right? It doesn't happen. I don't think that's ever happened. So that tells me you have more. There is more for you. So I'm going to be diligently catching up on my work that I didn't get done this morning because I cleaned. That's good though. It's good. Um, but over the next, it's probably going to take a while. It's going to take months and months and months and months to get all the work done I want to get in my house done. So yeah, so if you are OCD and you joke about that and your coworkers joke about that, is it really OCD or are you just hyper organized and like a peaceful environment? Because I feel like that's where I'm at. And I do. I call it a superpower, right? And if you're empty nesting, seek the Lord on what he has next for you because God always, always has more for us. He always has more he wants us to do. And that does tie into the whole retirement concept, right? I don't think we have permission to, at a certain point in life, just stop and not do anything else for the rest of our life but garden. Gardening is great. I don't like it. I have what do I call it? Gardening anxiety disorder. GAD. Gardening. I think it's a thing. But I don't like to garden. I don't garden. But I know a lot of people do, and I know um that was something my grandma, did once her kids were all grown and gone. She got into gardening and that's all well and good, but God doesn't give us permission to stop advancing his kingdom and sharing his love. So God always, always has more for us. So this week, I would challenge you to go discover what the next thing is that God has for you. I love you guys. Have a blessed week, and I will see you next week.